I was shocked by it and found it pretty surprising that they can come in and they can just say, we're going to put this on your light pole. And all they have to do is show us an engineering report that says it won't fall over. And basically they can do it. And the FCC said, you know, when we only have one, the tower we have is up in the, up by the reservoir. But on the tower, when they put antennas on it, there was an auction. And this was just, the FCC says, we think all you should get is whatever it really cost you. And we're going to give you a number that we think is fair, and that's it. So the point that is lost is that the federal government took our right away to regulate based on that health and safety. And Ruth Moss knows this because she doesn't disagree with me on this. Section 704A of the 1996 Act expressly preempts state and local government. Preempts means we can't do it, just like we're preempted from saying you don't need to have a catalytic converter on your car. Preempts state and local government regulation of the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of the environmental effects of radio frequency emissions to the extent that such facilities comply with the FCC's regulations concerning such emissions, which is why in our franchise agreements, before anyone came in here, our franchise agreements on small cells required them to contribute to a fund that we could randomly test with independent engineers, because the one thing we can do is make sure that they're complying with the numbers the FCC put up. Not saying I agree with the FCC's numbers. I'm just trying to follow the law. That's a fact. We put that into our legislation. And so we have both a franchise agreement and legislation to enforce what we do. So we have strong regulation here. Now, when someone comes in right now with an application and we don't think it's in a good spot, we can tell them, we don't want you to put it there. And then they have to demonstrate that they need to put it there. That's how this law bakes out. What this will do is say it's got to be 250 feet away unless you can show us you need to put it there, okay? That's what's happening here. So what I am very concerned about is I'm a lawyer and I have litigated for a living. And when I handle an accident case, I can't do the accident over. This is what happened. I have to figure out what I'm going to do for this client. When we write legislation, we are kind of able to decide how we're going to walk into a courtroom if someone is to challenge it. So that's why this is so complicated, difficult, and it takes time to do. But I want to point out that we were one of the first to go in with legislation that did its best to regulate and control this. I'll just tell you that I am going to vote yes on this because I think that I think there's parts of it that I'm not in love with because I think it's going to make it it's complicated. But I do think overall this is in the area that we can enter to regain some control over our right of way, and without violating the very real federal regulations that we have to deal with, whether everyone finds them terrible or overbearing or overreaching. We still have to deal with it. It's life. So, but I am going to vote yes on this because I did struggle with it a little bit. I don't think it's going to give everybody what they want, but I think it's going to give what we can while still maintaining a defensible position in any litigation that takes place. So. And of course I care about everyone's health. That's the number one paramount issue. But we also have to play in the field that we've been given.